Right, hey everyone, I'm Klloo. Welcome back to some more discussion on heavy hitters and flesh and blood and the current state of things. So, our four topics that I want to go through, I've tried to figure out the correct order to do them in. I think we're going to settle for what's in a box, who are the boxes for, rarity, and then we'll talk about set flow. So we'll do a video on each, starting of course with what's in a box of heavy hitters. So, pretty self-explanatory, right? What's actually in a box? What are you getting? What is your money really worth? Is it better to just buy singles? Well, yeah, across the board it's generally always better to buy singles. But first off, big shout out and thank you to Playset, right? My go-to for EVs to date. I used to was it Kitchen Table TCG? But I don't think he even touches Fab anymore, does he? But yeah, so Playset, wonderful to watch. Very informative, very precise as well, and yeah, it's fantastic content, so go give it a watch. Even if you're not overly interested in the market, it's still a good thing to learn about and even just have a brief summary on. So for instance, this is the expected value trend for Dusk Till Dawn, right? So if every set almost starts a lot higher than what the sets are priced at, and then they decline as obviously the demand for singles drop off, which is primarily what we want to talk about today. So this is very evident of the desire to play Flesh and Blood, less so the desire to collect, right? Everyone wants all the new game pieces because they're needed, right? There's not a big delay between a release and then armory events or new events, and whoever can get all the goodies first, has that edge. So everyone has to compete, and at release, boxes do phenomenally well. It's a fantastic time to open, enjoy, and sell. That then dips off, and that's sort of the issue, right? Because at this point, who are boxes for, right? Yeah, you can open to play, and that's still fantastic. Again, the limited element is continuing to be re-emphasized by LSS, and that is fantastic. But the longevity of Flesh and Blood boxes is something that I've always had a question of in the back of my mind. So again, starting off, I used to buy, and hold on to a bunch of sets because I really believe in this game, and this game is going to exist for a long time. It is a phenomenal game, but the collectability of older sets, I don't know, right? If nostalgia will ever really be a thing for Flesh and Blood, given again just how evident competitiveness is, right? That is the main goal of Flesh and Blood in the community. It's been reinforced time and time again. We want to play. We want to play this fantastic game, and collecting becomes second nature to that. And that's not a bad thing, but yeah, just again shakes up the general preconceptions of most TCGs, because Flesh and Blood, once again, is its own sort of beast. Now, the other thing I did want to also bring up is Flukbox. Fantastic, right? So I can buy a full playset of rares and commons, non-foils, but that's fine, right? For $99. That's roughly 20 cents a card, because it's something like 560 cards, right? So I think, actually I have the numbers right here, don't I? Yeah, so 128 times 3, and then 66 times 3. So that is, plus the tokens actually, so a little bit more. But that's phenomenal. For $99, right? Usually to open a full playset, so to get, again, 3 triplets of your rares. That's 40 rares roughly in a box. So you would need well over, a case or two, right? And that's if you don't get repeats, because you will get a bunch of repeats. Commons, easier said, obviously, because they're more common, but still, you'd need what, 300 and, actually I have it written somewhere. No, you need 200 and, where's my math here? My math is wrong. You get 264 in a box, but again, no repeats, and you'd need 300 and something. So in a case, you'd probably get a full playset of commons, but then again, you're paying here in Australia $480, $500 for a case versus Fluke and Boxes $99, and I get the rares too. Even if it, 20 cents card, you might think is a little high. The other way to think about it is in a box, right? At that same price, about $60 of that box is rares and commons. Again, at 20 cents a card. And I think that's really fair value for the labor as well. And $10 shipping. The other thing that actually came to mind for Flukbox is, I don't know what his overall plan is, but if I was him, I would buy a warehouse and I would do consignment. right? So I'd have people ship in their cards, I'll list them, I'll sell them, you just pay a servicing fee and a storage fee, and you get the profit, and basically just build into a TCG, a card market for Australia, because that is something we are sorely lacking, and Flesh and Blood is definitely the game to build it off of, because again, how strongly emphasized the singles market is. But anyway, back to heavy hitters. So what is in a box? 1 per 4 for Majestics, so that means you're getting roughly 6 a box. Rares 1.68, so you're getting roughly 40 a box. Commons 11, so you're getting roughly 264 a box. We can go on and go on, but yeah, basically what I'm trying to emphasize is when you open a box, you need to think about why. What is the rationale for this? Again, the collector aspect to me personally is really moving towards competitive drops, which is fantastic to build up that prize stream, but it does diminish what's in a box. I always thought of cold foils as your freebie from LSS, a big, nice, sometimes sizable discount to your box, right? A reward for purchasing. But obviously cold foils have heavily diminished. Commons, will be $1 to $5, and they make up 50% of the cold foils, and their pull rate, I would honestly assume, is higher than that, right? If the legendaries are 1 in 2 cases-ish, if the Fabled is, 1 in 10 to 20 cases, Majestics are rare as well, and we're missing those headpieces from the rare slot, right? The cold foil slot is going to be heavily diminished. So we can break it down a bit. Again, you'll get 264 commons, you'll get 40 rares, so neither of them enough to complete playsets in one box. Again, rule of thumb for me is a case will get you close to your rares and all your commons. Majestic wise, you will be incredibly far off. That is the big issue that I have. Again, this idea of where are boxes on the scale of everyone gets the game pieces they need, and then there are also those chase elements. Well, the primary game pieces you need and desire are Majestics and Legendaries. Legendaries are 1 in a case, and Majestics, again, 6 per box. There's 40 in a set, 10 of which are the expenditure slots, and they have varying odds. So even at 6 in a case, that means you only get 24, so you're halfway. And again, this is without any repeats, and repeats are really going to bog you down. I mean, even after opening 10 cases of Dust Till Dawn, there were still 2 or 3 Majestics I was missing. And it goes again to show the level of consistency, well, not really consistency, it's opposite actually, randomness that LSS have been able to produce. It helps with the whole mentality of, desiring cases because of the pull rates, desiring X because of the pull rates, and it feels more variable. But due to what's actually in the box, it is all overshadowed by the fact that you have to open en masse to really meet the expected values of a set. So even for heavy hitters right now, I believe it's reasonably high, right? It is almost $20 over the selling price of a box. So in saying that, it is also still under the recommended retail price for reference, but this also then averages out, getting a legendary, getting the different cold foils. And while statistically it is the right thing to do to go and say, well, my legendaries are a 1 in 4, so whatever the average value of a legendary is now, I just take 25% of that, and that's the makeup for the EV. But every time you do something like that, that then becomes a odd, right? A chance at getting the true expected value of a box versus the realistic expected value when you're opening 1 box, 2 box, 3 box, right? You might extremely high roll, but you can also really, really poorly roll. And even though this is an average in itself, you have those other variables, those pull rates, and the reinforcement of why people A, want boxes early as possible, even slightly before release, so that they can list those singles, sell those singles, and also why they buy en masse, why they open ginormous volumes. Because that's what you really need to do to realize these numbers. It's easy to look at this and go, right, well, I'll pick up a box because I have a fairly reasonable chance of making money off of it, when in reality you don't. And again, going back to the Dust Till Dawn, it is diminishing quite quickly, and it will level out as the desire for the new cards dwindles. There will be Majestics that get left in the dust that heavily drop off in value because they're no longer needed, or they've been tested and they either didn't live up to expectation, and you might even go the other way. They perform a lot better than expected and therefore rise in value. I believe the big one would be Standing Order as a defensive version of Alliance Strike. Thank you, Fish. But overall, the makeup of a box, again, to me, is just slightly out of whack. And it's feeding this cycle of, again, having to open en masse, having to recoup value on X Majestics, X Cold Foils, X Legendaries, even sometimes, by making sure you pull the higher value ones, right? You can sell them for over the average, and therefore you can take a loss on the ones that are less desired due to play. So at these rates, a single box is just not attractive to me. Even a case has been slowly diminishing in my eyes. And that's, again, less so to do with LSS, but the community and the way we've built up, again, this habit of getting boxes as soon as possible, opening en masse, and just going straight to the singles market and really spreading out the value so you can recoup and have decent margins on a lot of cards by, again, having ones over or far exceeding the average value and ones heavily under. So starting off with Majestics, again, 40, but it's really 30-10. You can either use the old set odds, or we can take out the expansion slot odds. But then again, this also has the legendary slots, right? That's been moved there, and Cold Foil slot, they replace the token. But it is, in essence, the fact that it's two separate odds that becomes the big issue, because chasing 40 Majestics versus, again, chasing 30 and 10 makes a world of difference if you're trying to complete a master set. And if you don't believe me, again, you can follow another wonderful person, Master Set Madness, and watch their journey and how many boxes they have to open and what cards they get stuck on, because it isn't always just the chase cards that elude them. You'll find a full set of Majestics, even foil, that's insane. The odds you have to think about when, again, they're two separate values. They get rolled in every pack. Rares, completing your playsets, will be generally more than a case. Well, it has to be more than a case. You'll find probably every rare by a case, but again, you're getting 40 on average. So 66 times 3, 40 times 4. You're still a little short on the rares. So maybe 2 cases, but again, the more you pull, the harder it becomes. Commons, it's easy enough, they're common cards. Tokens, they're fine, but also remember, in the Majestic slot are the adult heroes, which a lot of people want to play with. I think Flukbox is $9 at the moment, and they will obviously diminish heavily in value, more so than any other card, which will also then bring down the value of the Majestic slot, because, again, people just really want them to begin with, because they want to play, and you need the card. So that's the sole reason they are holding value at the moment. Once everyone has what they need to play, they become the worst Majestics in the set, because you only ever need one, and it's never going to change. Versus a normal Majestic where something might occur, a new hero gets printed, and all of a sudden it becomes heavily desired. The premium slots, it becomes more sort of about value. Commons, again, not many people want or desire them. At most, you might get a $2 Rainbow Foil. Rares, maybe a $5 one. Majestics, obviously that's where the pay dirt is. You really want your foil Majestics. You're getting roughly 1.33, so 1 1/3 per box. So you should get 5-ish per case. And that, to me personally, is fine. Because, again, there should be a playable version, a easily accessible version, and then a highly desired version that holds a premium. And early on, we see the Rainbow Foil not really get away from the Majestic, and then over time, the Majestic falls down, dwindles, and then the Rainbow Foil holds its premium because, again, it is that desired chase variety. Now, Legendaries, same sort of concept. There is no accessible version. Yet, at the same time, once everyone has what they need, we get that separation where the Cold Foil maintains its value because that's the collectible variant, and then the Rainbow Foil dwindles, even though it is still quite rare. It's just simply not needed anymore. And at 1 in 96, for the avid collector, it is a poor thing to see, right? A card you've had to chase, a card you should feel great about finding, slowly dwindle away Opening heavy hitters at release, finding legendary, fantastic. Heavy hitters 2 months from now, opening legendary, meh, right? I wish it was cold foil. I wish it was even just a rainbow foil, majestic. Because there are some that will get up there and be akin to legendaries. And then, of course, we have the cold foil slot. So, the commons being 51%, 50, whatever it is. I've got a calculator open. We can do this nice and quickly. So 17 out of 33. So it is 51%, right? So just call it 50-50, right? And again, that's not to do with pull rates. I would highly expect the common cards to have a skewed pull rate, right? And I think overall these should probably be cut. Cards like the headpieces or desired equipment that are in the rare slot shouldn't be taken out of the set. Or overall, just common needs a lot more impactful design, not just pack filler. There are some fantastic weapons, but we also get those awful amounts of just chafe pack filling armor that, again, are not desired as cold foils. While we continue to see what's in a box steadily change, I don't think it is on the same level as what we've seen in terms of the community mentality. Again, Flesh and Blood, early days, highly collectible, new wondrous thing, sometimes, inflated a little bit, to now everyone just wants to play the fantastic game that it is. But everyone wants the pieces and everyone clamors for them at the beginning. And then it just dwindles and drops. And the things left to sustain sometimes work, sometimes really don't. And then the Marvels, well, they speak for themselves, right? They will hold value. They will be, $200 to $500. And they are also, this flex piece. While you do have very cheap entry-level versions, there is such a contrast difference to a Marvel. Well, these Marvels in particular, because you have that backside. And it sort of goes to show the mentality, right? A cold foil is just a fancy shiny version, right? There's nothing super impactful different. Again, if they were all extended art, I think they'd have a bit more of a lasting impact. But because Marvels have that wonderful full art backside, they are desired because they are the ultimate flex, the wonderful showpiece. Unlike the Marvels that don't hit, like Dynasty, Bright Lights. But anyway, we'll leave it there. So that's basically what's in a box, more or less. More so me just rambling on as usual. But yeah, from that we'll figure out who a box is really for. Anyway, hope you enjoyed. See ya.